New York, and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning. On Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning. Laura Styles, Rosenberg, and Questlove and Black Thought from the Roots. Give it up one time. Or the Tonight Show.
From the Roots.
From the Roots.
Come on, man. Stop playing, Ebro.
Sorry, man.
From Hot 97.
And most importantly, producers, hip hop, the songs that shook America on AMC.
Yes.
Now, this is a thing between you two, of course, and also the squad, Sean G. and other individuals. That
Eric Parker, 19.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Angie Day.
What brought you guys to making these and documenting these moments, this music? How'd you guys get here?
We, the idea was presented to us a while ago to adapt this book that Shea Serrano wrote, which is called The Rap Yearbook, into some sort of, episodic show. And, we played with a bunch of different configuration options, and we wound up at something, that looks like a hip-hop version of, Kim Burns doing a 30 for 30.
Right.
And it sort of evolved from there. Very many sort of knockdown, drag-out arguments over which songs were the most impactful and why, and lots of having to separate our own personal, emotions from, the greater good. And
So what was the deciding factor? Like, you guys are debating records. How did you decide?
And did all the records come from the book? Were they already decided that they were the book?
No,
Some didn't. I think at the end of the day, we decided season 1 should be stories that really had a deep ripple effect. And of course, with each episode, you could say that Kendrick's episode is the Black Lives Matter episode. Latifah's Ladies First is the female empowerment episode.
Jesus Walks is the religious rap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Battle rap for the bridge, and then Rockbox with sort of the
mashup.
Yeah,
Rock
the
and roll
colonization of hip hop, and what am I missing? Oh, Outkast Elevators with
South.
The rise
South
of the
got
South.
something to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first episode, which dropped October 13, was Jesus Walks.
Yeah.
Which is prior to the
Timing couldn't have been better.
Yeah, seriously.
We had no clue. Yeah.
Now, why was it important for you guys to cover Christian rap, if you will?
Since hip hop is in a 40-year span, it's almost like, you want your pilot episode to, sort of reach all your demographics and all your psychographs at the same time. And I mean, who's probably the most polarizing figure in hip hop today that speaks to old heads and millennials right now than Kanye?
One of the most frustrating things about the current convo around Kanye's new album, Jesus is King, is the idea that spirituality in rap is a new thing, or that rapping about about being a Christian or being a Muslim or anything is not it's always been in the music.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's always been a part of it.
It's always been there, but, I think with Jesus Walks, that's probably the first time that, just for lack of a better term, cats just said that, oh, this is not corny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because let's face it. Has DC Talk ever been on Hot 97?
I mean, it's
we've had like Lecrae.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, not people who call themselves Christian rappers, but rappers rapping about their
spirituality.
But this is
religious
you have to admit,
path.
Jesus Walks
Yeah.
is different. It's a smash hit, played on the radio, in a club, everywhere, and was boldly, about Jesus.
Yeah.
And to Quest's point, and not considered corny, because I remember people used to give out DC Talk tapes, and none of the hip hop, people weren't checking for it. The mainstream hip hop fan wasn't checking for it.
I think the only artist that I would say was Lecrae. To me,
Lecrae came
He's
after.
after the fact.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
and
is
he came after.
Jesus Walks set that precedent.
Right.
Where it was, it became, it lent validity to a different sort of validity to, rap about, religion and that sort of thing. And it was done in a way that it wasn't corny. The beat was banging, the bars was banging, the cadence, the videos, they got the videos right. And,
it was a song that was all the way about a religious idea, but you go back where you had Rakim being a 5% of Rakim Allah and them talking, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that there was spirituality in rap. It's always been there, is my point.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you let the album sink in yet?
Yes.
Twitter's funny that way because it's just like, within 90 minutes of the album being released,
People
suddenly
rush.
it's like, it's the greatest thing of all. Which, I mean, you got to understand, first culture and social media has always been a thing. So people, I think, are more concerned about being first
Than being
want to be
right.
first with the most hyperbolic statement of all time. Right. That will get retweeted over and over again. But
How do you feel about it? What's your thought?
I'm still listening. I'm still processing Kids See Ghosts. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what I feel about the other two before I start my, where does this album fall in the ranking of the 9 or whatever.
Yeah. That's
I haven't really got to that part, but I do.
I listened
like,
to it twice, but
I do like the album musically. I feel like it's not his best rapping performance. I feel like he needed backup. You know what I'm saying? Which he's had before. You know what I mean? Where individuals have penned for him and helped him, elevate that. But when it comes to black spirituality, specifically gospel, right? And when it's done phenomenally, there's chords and melody and shit in this Jesus is King that will hit you like, ooh.
Yeah.
It hits you in your soul, especially if you've been raised around the black church. You're going to hear that real shit in there.
Now that I think you feel it, and I literally, the first time I listened to the album, the song "Water" moved me to tears. Legit moved me to tears the first time I heard it. And then
where did you hear it?
alone, just in my car.
Oh, okay.
Alone in my car, and then Kanye started rapping, and it moved me to different tears. But I really do. I'm with Ebro, and I really think musically it hits some beautiful notes and is well done. When it comes to him and his version of his new Christianity, I see it. You're doing your thing. You're experiencing it. I don't know that it all the way conveys to me. To me, it sounds like someone who just got into it and who's just finding his voice, right? So there's a
New religion. Yeah.
It's new religion, and that's cool, but I'm not Christian in the first place. So for me to even have an appreciation of it, it needs to be on a pretty deep intellectual level that I'm going to relate to.
On a visceral level, yeah.
Either visceral or intellectual. Kanye's hovering somewhere in the middle of just like, I'm going to say Jesus over and over again, really basic kind of prayer tropes. And it's cool, but musically, he still has that gift of bringing great people into a room and the results being musically really, I think, dope. Hip-hop, where it stands hip-hop wise, I need more time with that. I'm not quite sure.
Who are some of the people that you interviewed for this episode or that you spoke to on and
For
off camera?
Jesus Walks episode?
Everyone,
Yeah, all
GNC was on
parties
there.
involved.
Ron Fest.
everybody but Kanye.
And did you guys even try to reach out to Kanye?
No,
for
that
it?
was on because
That's too.
I felt like the episode was fine enough as was. I think there was probably a fear that he might take over the episode or that whole sort of thing. So, just with clips. Also for the Bridge episode, and for Kendrick's episode, I felt like those particular parties, like KRS-One, Kendrick Lamar, and Kanye, weren't necessarily needed because they've spoken on them before. Right. And then some episodes you do have them. Like for me, the one that just came on this Sunday, the Run DMC Rock Box episode, was with both Run and DMC, both who are sort of notoriously
Quiet.
have shied away against their legacy together. I mean, they've done things on their own about, their shows or their, music projects. But as far as them getting together to talk about the Run DMC legacy, that was a Hail Mary throw.
Now, you said when we started the conversation, you perceived Rockbox as did you say colonization?
Well, I mean, it could be seen as the summit meeting, or for a lot of people, Rockbox, whereas for hip hop heads, Rapper's Delight was their first taste of it. For a lot of middle America, Rockbox being one of the first rap videos on MTV in 1984 was really their first taste of hip hop,
And so, do you view the fusion of the music of Rick Rubin and Run and those guys putting that music together? Do you view that as a misstep in some way, or you're just viewing it as
not at all? Not at all. It set the precedent for how the culture is now global. Like that was the beginning of that. You know what I mean? It showed the potential of hip hop to sort of permeate into every nook and cranny of the world.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
Which is why you use the word colonization. Exactly.
I know we tend to say colonization in terms of religion and Christianity. Right. So yes, I'll just say the globalization.
Globalization.
Yeah, globalization.
Yes. Got it.
Yeah, and it was for good and for bad as time went on, right? Do you guys have a positive impression when you think of the Aerosmith Run DMC record? When you remember that moment?
You know, it's weird. When I purchased Raising Hell back in '86, like the week it came out, I really didn't know the history of Aerosmith and the Toys in the Attic album. So I mean, like I remember in real time, like back then, thinking like, oh, it's cool. Like I didn't think like, this is gonna be the moment that's really gonna speak to the rest of America, the rest of the world that doesn't see hip hop. Because
do you look back on the video though positively, or is like, do you look at it? Because I guess I sort of have pleasant memories of it as a kid, of thinking like, oh, this is cool because I was already getting into hip hop, and then I saw the rock part to it, and as an innocent child, I kind of thought it looked really neat.
I knew it was going to be a thing when a lot of suburbia kids in my school started buying the Raising Hell tape. Like, if you remember when it came out, there was like 4 different covers: a green one, a purple one, and a red one.
Right.
So now, like, kids like Paul Long and John Cavallaro and, non-hip hop heads.
Shout out to them.
Yo, I love how as a kid you remember first and last names of kids you went to school with. And now you don't know anybody's last name for real.
No, it's just like, like the kids on the other side of town that wouldn't necessarily listen to Run DMC. Like for me, all I needed was Peter Piper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for them...
That was the one.
To answer your question, though, as I recall, I thought the video was dope. I thought it was dope. I look back upon it, fondly. You know what I mean? It was something. I mean, I hadn't seen it before, and I mean, even then, when it hit, it felt like, who'd have thought that hip hop would take it this far, sort of thing. Just because Run, DMC, and Jay, like they looked like people that I knew on my block. You know what I'm saying? And they had a look and a sound and a feel that I aspired to as a young kid. And the hip hop, even Curtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash, like everything that has sort of come before them. I thought it was dope too, and it resonated with me, but in a different way.
I
wasn't trying to be.
Was different.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be. Like I didn't know anybody who looked like Africa Bambaataa in those dudes. You know what I'm saying? But Run and D and Jay, what they brought to the table, it felt like it was like my cousins had made it. You know what I mean? And the fact that they were on MTV and it was like, oh my God, like the white boys is rocking with. Yo, I felt like we had made it.
And that is the line. If you really look back. That is the line of, I think Run DMC is squarely the line of everything before it sounded like super old school, early 80s hip hop. Yeah. And afterwards we got Kane, Rakim, everything else kind of unfolded after Run DMC.
It's crazy too. I didn't, Quest, what you said about not really being all the way into Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. I didn't even realize that the verses on Walk This Way, that Run and them is spitting, is the Aerosmith verses.
I didn't know that till right now, so I mean.
Say word.
Yeah.
Seriously?
You didn't realize that, did
They're just rapping Aerosmith's lyrics.
Yeah, I didn't even realize they were
You can
rapping.
put Aerosmith right on as the same song.
It's the exact same
Literally
song.
the same song.
I've probably listened to the Aerosmith version like once in my entire life, so I barely even know that. All I know is it's the exact same record.
You were a hip hop head though, man.
But what does that have to do with being a hip hop head? That's how hip hop I am. I only know the Run DMC.
No, cats like you. I feel like cats like you would live. I feel like you invented like genius. Like I feel like that should have been your site.
Yeah, no, that was almost so early for me. When that came out, that I didn't know the original Walk This Way. I didn't know till 5 years later that Walk This Way was a hit before Run DMC.
Wow.
And my parents weren't listening to Aerosmith.
My mom told me, and my mom brought me the Raising Hell tape. But I didn't want Walk This Way. I wanted Peter Piper.
Right.
But I also remember before Walk This Way was a hit, you know what was the hit? You Be Illin'.
Well, You Be Illin' was the one that got me. That
You
was the
Be Illin' was
crossover,
the fucking
big
smash.
crossover hit before
Walk This Way was like the video TV joint. The radio stations was playing You Be Illin',
It's tricky.
Dumb Girl,
Right.
It's Tricky,
You know
Perfection.
it's tricky.
What? Yo,
You know what's
Perfection
weird
is
though?
hard
Really,
now.
they were playing everything on that fucking
Yeah.
album.
You know what's weird?
Yeah, sorry.
Similar to Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. Like, it's weird how, as a DJ now, and you mentioned it, the true legacy of that album is actually It's Tricky.
Right.
That song, I feel like that song, more than any song I've ever played by Run DMC today, gets the biggest response. And it really, I mean, it was a single after Walk This Way, but similar to September, like, I know Earth, Wind, and Fire is kind of weirded out. Like, that was a throwaway song on our Greatest Hits album. Like, we didn't plan on that being the song that defines us of our legacy. But it's kind of weird how now, once the smoke is cleared, that the one song from that album that still goes hard, even harder than Walk This Way, is actually It's Tricky.
Now, as a DJ, and I think we could all have this conversation, when you think about it, how many actual singles from legacy legend acts are the hit now versus the ones that the
still
culture
last.
said, no, this is the joint.
That's almost never the case. You know what I mean? It's all like more often than not, it's like the song that really resonated that the culture said was hitting, like that's my joint off that album. It was never, the single or the joints that.
Would you say that
put out.
Juicy matches up and is both? It was the smash at the time.
Juicy's iconic. Yeah.
I would say Juicy. I would say it matches up, but Big isn't here to speak on it. And I think if he was, he would probably say like, nah, Juicy wasn't his joint.
I got one for you.
I got one for you.
I feel like Jay's You Don't Know is actually his, at least when I see it in concert, and when I go to a Jay-Z concert, I mostly watch the audience.
Right.
Then I do his show just to see what they respond to. A great example of that is Jay's You Don't Know, which I actually feel is that's his statement song and his signature song.
Ironically, it's the B-side of Izzo, and Izzo doesn't pop off like that anymore.
Which is the point.
Yeah, he doesn't play
that's
Izzo.
exactly
He doesn't
right.
do Hard Not Life. He doesn't do like none of the singles.
He doesn't do I Just Want to Love You, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that was his biggest club record of all time. And you're right, You Don't Know is the stadium.
The artists don't be rocking with the single like that.
Yeah, it's true.
Because the singles, especially of that time period, were picked by the label, to fit into a radio kind of, equation to try to get airplay and be melodic and non-intrusive.
Like De La Soul, remember they used to
we hate
go
this
into-
song.
We hate
We hate it all, but we love this song.
Yeah,
We
that
hate
was
this.
that's in a nutshell.
You guys brought up Jay. Were you guys the band for the Unplugged?
Yeah.
MTV Unplugged?
Yeah.
Wow. And how many times have you guys been the band for a Jay-Z performance?
3 times he used us for
What, the black joint?
when Reasonable Doubt turned 10, we did that show at Radio City, and then at Carnegie Hall.
Right. I went to
I think he
Carnegie.
just
I saw
there
both
was
of
one
those.
point where Jay just wanted to get dibs on like all the the halls of the world and that sort of
Carnegie, Radio City.
thing. Yeah,
ones.
that sort of thing. So,
And he came to you guys to be the backup band for that.
but I mean, by that point, our guy Adam Blackstone is sort of like the proxy now. I mean, it just came to a point where we couldn't, because after the Jay thing, then everyone came calling us like, Eminem wanted to rock with us for the Grammys and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then, it just became too much. So,
How do you guys feel about that as a band where people want you to be?
I mean, I feel like it's cool. It's added on to the legend. And it's definitely, it's kept the roots as part of the conversation. I mean, it's like we when we came out, it was alien to be on stage with live instruments. So the fact that we were able to shift that standard in the culture, I think is amazing. And then the fact that I think like once people saw Jay-Z use the roots and without me rapping with him, then people like certain artists felt like the coast is clear and it's cool. Like we could rock with the band and we don't have to, be subjected to
Wait.
black certification. You know?
Wait. But that's okay with you, or you're feeling like?
I mean, it is what it is. Like it's more okay with me than not. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like it's not a deal breaker. Like, you know what I mean? The check's still gonna clear if you rock with the Roots without me. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, historically, I've made lots of people nervous, and lots of people feel all sorts of just away. So come on, man. Like
That's changing now.
That rapper started coming out. You saw that?
So basically, you're saying these other cats trying to rock with the Roots can't do it like you do.
He went from Tariq from the Tonight Show to Black
can
Thought
rock with the Roots like I do. Like,
Okay.
So if you want to rock with the Roots, it would behoove you to not have the expert on deck. You know what I'm saying?
So do you, as a person in the band who's watched the band perform with other people,
Yeah.
right? Do you have a favorite?
I love being talked about in third person right here.
I know it's good.
bit.
It's good. No problem. Do you have
You are the
band.
The band. You're the band.
Band, yes.
Do you have a favorite time that you've seen them back up an artist, like a favorite performer or a
Yeah,
favorite?
definitely the Unplugged.
Deep joints?
The Mobb Deep joints, I perform with them, so it's different.
Oh, damn.
It's
Well, that was
different.
my favorite joint anyway.
The time, my favorite time where I wasn't part of the equation,
Yeah.
like watching my band rock, was Jay-Z Unplugged. I think it was excellent.
You ever just sit around when Guru was with us, God bless the dead, would you and Guru just sit around and he'd be talking about Premier like these cats can't fuck with Primo like me, and you're like, I know what it's like, the fucking Roots. Because that was such a regular Guru conversation, right?
Whenever Guru and I were together, there was so much like weed and alcohol involved.
Yes.
I mean, I have no idea what those conversations were.
Now,
Shout out to the
you
new Gangster album coming this Friday, by the way.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
the album's
Yes,
is
sir.
Friday.
One of the best yet.
Gangstar.
Yeah.
Yo, those
Shout out
singles
to
have been
Primo.
incredible. The J. Cole joint.
Yeah, and the Bad Name.
Phenomenal. Bad
Yeah.
Name is phenomenal. Quest, you've been drummer for several people also.
Pretty much everybody.
Do you have a favorite person that you went on tour with, drummed for, experience?
With the exception of D'Angelo, I don't think I've toured with that many people. I mean, that to me was a fun experience.
Right.
I mean, just at the time, you don't know that you're making history or carving out a piece of history. It was just like, at the time, what we were doing was so radical. And I'm talking about the making of the Voodoo album. Those 5 years was literally like, let's do whatever's not on radio right now. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was scary. Like, we test stuff for people, and especially like A&R guys or whatever, and they just look like, some were blatantly honest, like, this is the most wretched, horrible, what are y'all doing in there? This would take y'all 3 years to make, that sort of thing. But in hindsight, yeah, that's some of the coolest moments ever. Like, I enjoyed doing that.
Now, were you with Prince? Did you tour? Did you play for Prince ever? Were you drumming?
I mean, we jammed a lot, but not. I never drummed for him.
Got it.
Like, that's no. I mean, I've played with him
Right.
millions of times, but not
As his
never
drummer.
toured. No. That's a job I'd never want.
Tell me why.
I mean, sometimes you ever have the thing where it's like, be careful of like your idols and that sort of thing.
Right.
I think I had the perfect. I played the perfect distance of, once or twice a year you play with your hero, and then you go back to your day job.
Right.
What was he
everything's
like?
mad normal. But it's almost like I think he knew that you knew that it was like an honor to work for him. So whenever I'd be in proximity, instantly, not even a hello or anything, he'd just walk up, yo, do the sound tonight. And then you're at the soundboard like, wait, I don't live engineer. Like, what's he? And I'm looking at the guy that's actually at the board like, wait.
I'm supposed to come oversee what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're like,
That type of thing. But it's always a surprise with that guy. I miss that dude a lot, man. It's some of the best 5 a.m. jam sessions I ever had.
Yo, listen, man. His pop up, like, he's the original pop up. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Before, like now you have pop-ups. Prince would come to town. And remember when email first became a thing and you could get on like the Prince mail list and everybody, he would be in town doing a concert. You're sitting next to your email like, yo, is the email going to go out? Where's the after? Not the concert. Where is he going after the concert with Shaka Khan or whoever is in town for the party?
Right.
You was trying
one
to be at
time
that
I got
joint.
one, the weirdest jam session I had was, this was after the NAACP Awards. It's me, Morris Day, Sheila E., Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, Jamie Foxx, and members of his band giving like a concert to like Joni Mitchell and Selma Hayek in his living room.
Literally, I mean, it was
Like
the
he
people there,
gives
just Joni Mitchell.
He's the
Salma
type of
just
person
hanging.
that he's the type of person that like when he throws a party, for him a party's like just 14 people. He'll rent out a spot, but just for 14 people, which is like weird to me. Like if you're going to publicly perform and perform your ass off, like at least have like 500 people there. But it's just like I'm like sitting there drumming, like yo, I'm actually watching like Joni Mitchell and Selma Hayek
Dance
do
in circles.
the weird hippie dance like in front of his fireplace
And you up there getting it in.
at 5 a.m. Yeah, like
That's amazing.
weirdest moment ever.
Now, with this show, Hip Hop, the songs that shook America, I found myself in the last few weeks really having conversations with people about the documentation of our culture, hip hop, right? Yeah. And how when you look back historically on any culture, there were individuals who either had the money or the know-how and foresight to say, yo, I don't want to make money on this, but because this is my culture, that for my people, I'm gonna make sure there's a museum. I'm gonna make sure that this thing, is that something that you guys are actively?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like the genesis for me into this, I was on MTV's website one day, and they were doing the game where they'd like play their interns noted classic albums. So when they got to the hip hop portion, they were playing their interns like De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. They played Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions, like Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted, stuff that we consider like general classics. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course, without context, you're playing these 16, 17-year-olds music that, you know, is 10, 11 years older than they are. And it's not like hip-hop is, I think now hip-hop is a thing where the same way my parents introduced like Stevie Wonder to me at the age of 3 or 4, you know, for a lot of us, hip-hop was contraband. Like, I had to sneak a UTFO. I had to sneak in the basement to listen to the Straight Outta Compton tape he gave me in lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of household I had. So a lot of people's hip-hop experiences are sort of like the secret that you don't get until you're a teen. So, I mean, as a result, they were panning it. They were like, Public Enemy, this is not good as Drake. Like, I don't like 3 Feet High and Rising. He thought it was horrible. And so for me, when I read the comments and, you know, people doing their usual like, oh, man, fuck millennials and whatever, like they don't know shit. And then I just felt like, well, that's our fault. Like we can't take for granted that what we see as greatness that will spread to generations and generations.
We can't take it for granted, and we can't, you know, we can't let someone else tell those stories. You know what I mean? Like we can't assume that they're gonna get it right. You know, so with this opportunity to sort of to take the reins and to tell our own stories and take back the keys as now, you know, hip hop elder statesmen and gatekeepers, it was a no-brainer.
And we also have to do the things that I think, like Black Thought, that I think you do, which is like, both you guys do really, which is not try to be young, and also not diss the shit that's young.
Yeah,
You know,
you
like you're still making great hip hop that you want kids to aspire to, and you're also not dissing the baby and the new shit that comes out. We can do it all.
You don't have to. You know what I mean? In order to understand like where we are and where we're headed, you gotta understand, where we came from. So that's what this is.
One last before, once again, everybody, Hip Hop, the songs that shook America. It's on Sundays, midnight, and the season finale's coming up. But I think you can get all
on
the
AMC.
Yeah, it's on AMC. Yeah, but you can go and get on demand.
iTunes and
the whole thing.
Yeah.
We had Daddy O Stetson Sonic here on the show a few weeks ago. Yeah, and we were just he was telling stories and pissed off MC Light because said she didn't write her raps on self-destruction. She texted me but didn't want to come on the show.
What?
What's up, Light? And she was like, yo, he don't got the story right, but whatever. But the important piece was in the convo. Obviously, early, they were called a hip hop band. Right? They call themselves. And he articulated that he saw you guys as more of a jazz hip hop fusion, if I'm saying
What
it
happened
right.
was at first he was saying he didn't fuck with other bands in hip hop. And so I naturally went, what about the Roots? Yeah. And he was like, nah, I fuck with the Roots. And yeah, I think, I forget exactly how he described it.
He was saying
it,
they were a DJ, a drummer, and a bass player, I think. He was like, we were a hip hop band because we had a DJ, whatever. Where the Roots are more of a jazz.
Yeah, no, the Roots. The Roots. We were and are and continue to be a hip hop band. I always looked at Stetson Sonic as an ensemble. You know what I mean? And if you're a DJ and a bass player and a drummer, that's more of a trio.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like they definitely pioneered the incorporation of live instrumentation in hip hop. But
they did say the definition of a hip hop band.
The Roots, we all things are all people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you need us to be, country western infused, whatever, then that's what we are for the check. You know what I mean? But I mean, at the end of the day, Questlove is,
Well, I don't think he was saying that you weren't hip hop. I think he was saying because of how diverse you are musically. Right, it lends itself to.
Yeah, but you're not.
But that kind of makes us Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
We diverse musically and all that, but we hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. Like that's what this is founded upon. And I mean, from Daddy O, they had a thing with jazz, back in the day. It was like just
Talking
so for him to say,
jazz.
I mean, y'all look at them as jazz. Like, I don't know if I want Daddy O to call me like the jazz band. You know what I'm saying?
But now jazz is very.
Don't
the
let him
essence
troll
of
you, by the
jazz
way.
is
Watch
very.
the video first before you let Ebro fully troll you in this
But
conversation.
the essence of jazz is very hip hop, though, right?
What I think Daddy-O was trying to say was that maybe in the studio they came off more as traditional hip hop, quote unquote. Whereas I think he might think that what we do on stage is also what we do in the studio. But Illadelph Half-Life, like each of our albums have demonstrated.
It's very hip hop.
Yeah, it's always the difference. Our very first two records were, yes, like 100% always us. But, we sample joints. We whatever makes the music sound great is what our approach is to, crafting songs.
That's right.
So I think people are still learning about the Roots after all this time. I think after his freestyle, people are just learning it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that must have been crazy.
That's true.
To have the freestyle, have people like, yo, you could really rap, bro. You were like, word, thanks.
I've had a lot of those moments.
Yeah.
Like there's one time.
Yo, your man could rap.
Yeah.
There was one time where I used to be dismayed by that. We did a gig once where Nas was sound checking with us, and this is like when we did our first Radio City Music Hall show, like 2007, 2008.
Oh, right.
And by the look on Nas's face, I could tell this is the first time you decided to just take 5 minutes out to see what we were, and it was
Right.
It was like I wish I could have memed or gifed that moment. It was just like, oh. Like, I was wrong about them. They are
really
real hip-hop.
rapping.
Yeah,
They really getting it in.
Yeah, so, people...
Well, I think the reality is, you guys were always famous as a name, and people would show up to the concert
The
as
idea of
an
the
experience,
Roots.
the
Right.
idea. But for people who knew, the people who consider Black Thought one of the illest of all time, those are hip-hop heads. Those are people who really know what time it is. So it
But
wouldn't
those are people that
surprise me.
those are people that also want to invest in...
And spend the time.
And, yeah, sometimes even when I get records, like 30-second test.
Yeah.
Like,
But now you're
like
the Tonight Show band too, so you have people who just have gotten familiar with you over the last 5 years who don't know that They think Black Thought's charming and funny. Tariq is funny.
Yeah,
he's all
yeah.
They don't know he's one of the nicest ever if they didn't put the time in. So when that freestyle went viral, I imagine a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is different," And it's like, there's a whole.
True.
There's 10 albums. How many albums?
16 right
16
now.
albums. I apologize.
Yeah.
Damn, 16 albums. We're old as fuck. Considering I remember Organics, this has been a long run.
No, I mean technically like 11 or 12 Roots records, but I mean we've done like collaborative records with other people as well. But no, hey man,
Look, Rakim
we're
knows
still
what
here.
it is. Rakim knows what it is. He
Hey,
got
when
this.
you know, you know.
Yeah,
Rakim knows
No.
what it is.
If you don't know,
I like
fuck
it. I think it's amazing that you guys have managed to become so mainstream popular and keep your credibility though. That is not easy. You know what I'm saying?
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Like when you got that job, don't think we weren't all like, all right,
I knew
let's
every-
see.
Yeah.
That's naturally where
Yeah.
people go.
I
And you
turned
did
it on. Yo, I turned it on one time. He called you Tariq. I was like, say Black Thought.
and you done it. You're still the roots.
But I was like, you know what? Nah, be Tariq. It's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's different.
I think
man.
there's a good thing when I personally like being underestimated. That's always been the root story. Like, even since the beginning, like us being underestimated and you got to show and prove. And it's like, oh, word. That moment where people turn around and they support you. So,
But at this point, those who matter, I think, know. What the
that's all
story
you can
is.
say.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, hip hop, the songs that shook America on AMC. Go get it, man. And just love to y'all for documenting the culture, man. And
Yeah,
making sure
thank
the
you for
stories
coming.
start
Likewise.
putting in
Thank
that
you.
work,
Thank you
man.
for having us.
Good looking.
Yo, give it up one time, man. Black Thought, Questlove.